Okay, Chaver, let's go. Yudzayin Amid Beis, we're in the very bottom. We're in the middle of a lengthy discussion. Those who did Chazara will have an easier time. Those who did not will be slightly more difficult. Yudzayin Amid Beis, we are 3 lines from the bottom. Ta, She, Ma. And the overarching sugya that we're in the middle of discussing is Schach Pasol versus Avir. We've so far had 2 L'shainais, whether Schach Pasol is Gimel Tfachim, and whether Avir is always Gimel Tvachim, Schach Basel is either Dalid Amois or Dalid Tvachim. So Tashima, 3 lines from the bottom of Yizayim and Beis. Tashima, Sichecha benisarim shel eres. If someone puts planks of eres, we started this at the end of Thursday, Shiur. God bless you, Rav Nachi. Sheish behen arba, you didn't have to stand up. Sheish behen arba, that are 4 tfachim wide. Divrei akol, psula. Thank you very much. God bless you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nihyeh b'dvarei. Divrei hakol psula. Ein behen arba. If they're not 4 tfachim wide, then Rabbi Meir Paisel, Rabbi Yehuda Machshir. Okay, so far so good. Simple machlekes. Umay der Meir on the top of Yud Ches Amud Aleph. She'im, that if yesh there is bein neser leneser between each planks. Again, we have a sukkah. On the top of our sukkah, we have these planks that are 4 tfachim. We just said it's a machlekes. What is the story? If they're not 4 tfachim, if they're 4 tfachim, everyone says it's possible. If they're not 4 tfachim, machlekes Rav Meir and Rav Yehuda. Says the Gemara in Rav Meir, who a moment ago said it's possible, is maida that what? Im yesh b'neser leneser, between the different planks. What do? Kimale neser. You fill in between the planks with what? Kosher schach. Kimale neser. Shemeniach psal beinehem. You put kosher schach between them. Uksher. So you have less than 4 tvachim space, less than 4 tvachim space, less than 4 tvachim, and in each of those spaces you fill it with kosher schach. Rameir's moed, that's kosher. So says the Gemara. Bish lama, this all makes sense. Laman damar, according to the opinion that holds. Bein be'emsa, bein minatzad, and again, the Gemara is not quoting whom this opinion is. If you remember, we had 2 l'shainais, Rav and Shmuel. I think Gemara went back and forth, so it's pretty difficult to say it's Rav or it's Shmuel, because it depends if you're in Lashon 1 or Lashon 2. So the Gemara just says, Bish Laman Amar, Bein Bemsa, Bein Minatzad Ba'arba Amois. According to the opinion that says, when does Chach Pasol Dalit Amois? I don't care where. Again, let's remind yourself. If it's connected to the wall, why is you have until Dalit Amois? Because of Doif and Akuma, the bent wall. The other opinion holds you even have Dalit Amois where? In the middle of your sukkah. Why? Halach l'meish b'Sinai. Why? Kach. That's what God told Moses on Sinai. Don't ask any questions. So according to the Manda Amar that says, whether the schach puzzle's in the middle, whether the schach puzzle's on the side, you have until Dalet Amois. So in this case, it makes a lot of sense. It's kosher. Why is it kosher? Because you have 4 tvachim of schach pasel, and then you have schach kosher in between. So you never have dalit amois of schach pasel. But asks the Gemara, again, arba with a hey means tfachim. According to the Mandamar, that says that you have in the middle up until 4 tfachim. And once you hit 4 tfachim, then it is pasel. Amai Ksheira. What is the reason this sukkah is kosher? What's the question? The question is, good, 1 beam is 3.9 tvachim. And then you have schach kosher next to it. But then right next to there, you have more schach basel. So why would it be kosher? That is the kasha of the Gemara. And this is where we ended last week. Now the teretz of the Gemara is the Chiddush. And let's understand this teretz. Omar Ravuna. Again, the kasha is more built upon the previous sugya, which is more intricate. Hopefully we got it. If we didn't with Chazara, we will. But let's understand the kasha. The teretz, the Gemara's answer is beautiful. Omar Ravuna, 8 lines down. The first word in line is Huna. Says Ravuna B'reid Rav Yeshua. Hacha. What is the case? B'sukkah deloyhave ella shemoine mitzumtzamois askina. Mitzumtzam means exact. Shemoina amos, good. Exactly 8 amos. So your sukkah is 8 amos. Who cares? Now, 8 amos, we know that an amma is 6 tfachim. 8 times 6, machlekes, very good, 6 or 5. Thank you, that made me happy. Let's all remember that machlekes, shkayach. 6 or 5. So if it's 6 tfachim, which we assume generally is 6, 8 times 6 is... The only one knows who doesn't use a calculator all day. Very good, Baruch Hashem. Don't worry, you'll also one day forget when you have a calculator in your pocket. No one here knew that. Even I knew that one. Come on, 8 times 6 is an easy one. Go into like double digits, forget about it. 11s. 11s is like epis shtick, how to do it. 12. 12 if the calculator is out. Anyways, Shemaina, what? 12 easy. Okay, there's always that guy who knows the 12s. Okay, go 13. Okay, what's 13 times 16? Carry the 1 plus the 2 or 15. Yeah, okay. Anyways, Ella Shemaina Mutsum Samois Askinon. Okay, so again, 8 Amois, which is what? 48 Tfachim. Okay, who cares? Now look at this. V'yohiv, and you place. Yohiv means to give literally. Neser, a beam, a plank, which is 4 Tfachim wide. Upesel. Next day you put kosher schach. V'neser, pasel schach. Upesel, and kosher schach. V'neser, and pasel schach. Upesel, and kosher schach. Mehagisa from one side. So one side of your sukkah is pasel kosher, pasel kosher, pasel kosher. Now go the other way. Says the Gemara. V'neser, upesel, v'neser, upesel, v'neser, upesel, mehagisa. So on each side we have parallel pasel kosher, pasel kosher, pasel koshers. Meeting up in the middle. We have 4 tfachim of kosher schach that meets up in the middle. So how much kosher schach is smack in the middle of my sukkah? 8 tfachim. What's the minimum shear for a kosher sukkah? 7 tfachim. Says the Gemara, wonderful miracle. Pasel kosher, pasel kosher, pasel kosher. 2 kosher side by side. Bingo, you have a kosher sukkah in the middle. Neser, pesel, neser, pesel, neser, pesel, me'agisa. Excuse me. So now don't be confused. The word pesel you think is pasul. No, it's pesel, as in literally means refuse, which means kosher schach. So don't make that mistake. It's a little bit confusing. You would think neser is a plank. Plank sounds like bamboo. It's kosher. No, it's exact. It's hafuch. A neser is pasul schach. A pesel is kosher. Good. So you have neser, pesel, nesel, pesel, nesel, pesel, magisa. Dahavilu. What do you have? Shnei pisalim. 2 kosher schach bems in the middle. Vika hechsher sukkah bems. And therefore you have kosher schach in the middle. I do not know why our wonderful color picture book dropped the ball over here.
Can you sit in the rest of the sukkah?
Givaldik kashas. Look at Rashi and tell me what you think. 1 second. Rabav, you're the only one that can see this. I don't know if you could see it. It's pretty small. Yeah, you could pretend to see it. I like that. Thank you for pretending. It makes me happy. I appreciate it. But basically, what you're looking at is kosher, pasuk, kosher, pasuk, kosher, pasuk. Now, Rav Eli asks the $1 million question. Can you sit in the rest of the sukkah? This is a massive and brewing machlokes. Rashi, what? Oh, very good. Very good. L'chaira, you have for the Lashon Gemara, very nice. What did the Gemara say? Umayde Rameir. Rameir is Maida. Shemish Nesel Nesek Nesel Minel Pasel Beinehem Ukesheira. Very good. So Rashi, I believe, is of the opinion that it is kosher. Rashi says, no, I think I'm wrong. Let's see Rashi. It's the big Rashi in the beginning of the narrow lines. Rashi does the math for you. Shnei psalim be'amsa, about 8 lines down. Hilkach kishei yosef psalim v'tachas hanisarim. No, I'm wrong. What does Rashi say? Lo yiyashein. Other Rishonim are you? Rashi says you're not allowed to sit underneath the nisarim. V'asuk ein nefsals b'em. Terminu dafen aikula absul b'em sayim da'apachs me'arba amoisu. V'im taima. Okay, now Rashi says kasha. Good. Now, this really is a first cousin to machlekes that we've toyed with many, many times. And what's the machlekes? Whenever you have a doifen akuma matziv, can you sit under the doifen akuma, which is a massive machlekes rishonim, which one day maybe we'll get to the bottom of it. But for now, that is the Gemara, and that is Gavaldik. And now we start a new sugya. So again, hopefully that is clear. And again, the objective is, actually, hopefully, do we have oh my gosh, we have no stopping points. Oh, over here. Okay, because this is like one of those sugyas. You gotta do the whole thing in one go, as the English chaver would say. Americans, we don't actually have a word for it. Either way, Omar Abaye, weiter. New Gemara, everyone, let's dive in. If it wasn't clear until now, we'll get it. But for now, a Nayu Gemara. Omar Abaye, Avir. Avir is airspace. Now, if you remember back in the Mishnah needs Zayin B'Alef taught us that what? Airspace passes with 3 Tfachim. 3 Tfachim. Now, we assume why? Because what's 3 Tfachim? What's 3 Tfachim? Love it. Very good. So if I were to ask you, if I were to have asked myself before I look at the next Gemara, I would have said, where can you have up until 3 Tfachim of airspace? What would we have assumed? Do I care if the airspace is in the middle? Is on the side? Love it. Says the Gemara, not so quick. Omar Abaye, Avir Shloisha. If you have Avir, airspace of 3 Tvachim, a Sukkah Gedayla, and a large Sukkah. Umi'atoi. First we start with a different thing. And you diminish it. Me'at, from the word of little. You lessen it. Bein bikanim, whether you do it with Kosher Schach. Oh, Daf Beis, what are you referring to? Oh, lowering the Sukkah. Very good. Oh, the Miate, very good. Beis or Gimel? We already had it on Beis? No. You're talking about from Mavli. You're talking about the Raya from Mavli. That by Mavli we said Yemait. Okay, that we had on Beis. That's Mavli. Good. Later in the Gemara we have being Yemait to 20. Very good. Amar Rabbi Avir Shleshab Sukkah Gedayla Umiatai. What? Yeah, no, but that's not by Sukkah. That's by Mavli. No, but by Sukkah we have that's on Daf Chveis Gimel Dalet. Yes, correct. Amar Rabbi Avir Shleshab Sukkah Gedayla Umiatai. Bein bikanim are kosher schach. Bein b'shvudim pasel schach. Havimiyat. Says Abaye, a Gavaldik miracle. You have 3 Tvachim of puzzle, you have airspace. So fill it up. What do you fill it up with? I don't really care. The point is, you just can't have airspace, and it's all good. Besukkah, now, just a random first cousin to this, mamish random. So to pardon my randomness for a moment. Let's say this was your cup of Havdalah wine. Now, if you look over here, we know there's a din in Havdalah, it's supposed to overflow. But it's nowhere near the top. It's a shear. So what do you do? You put a plastic thing in. You start dropping whatever you want inside the cup. Take your menchies, take your ice cubes, take your forks. Ice cubes melt quickly, so you got to be careful with ice cubes, menchies. But mamish the same thing. The point is to diminish it. I don't care what. We don't need, just like over here, what's the issue? The issue is the airspace. Get rid of that airspace, and everything is good. Givaldik. B'sukkah kitana, let's say it's a small sukkah. Ooh, so now you have a small sukkah. What's a small sukkah? 7 by 7 tfachim. So now you have an airspace of 3 tfachim. What happens if you minimize that airspace? So let's just think about this together. If you do with kosher schach, you're good to go. You have a kosher sukkah. Let's say you do with pasel schach. So very good, you got rid of your airspace. What's your problem? You don't have a kosher sukkah. Because the sukkah is only kosher with 7 by 7 tvachim. So if you start putting pasel schach in the middle, it messes you up. Says the Gemara. Schach. Besukkah ketana, bekanim, if you put kosher schach in the airspace out of tov, havimiyot. Bishfuden, if you put pasel schach, loy have miyot. Good. Says the Gemara, vehani mili. This is only min hatzad. Says the first opinion. You only have up until 3 tfachim of airspace where? Next to the wall. A chiddush. That lavud only works with walls. Why? Could anyone think of a raya? It's a hard raya. It's a very hard raya. I did not get the raya. I'll be very honest with you. What was the makar for lavud? Does anyone remember? We had a Rav Yehuda. Mechitzin, chatzitzin, ushiurin. Sounds familiar? Halacha l'maisha misinai. So they want to bring a raya from there that the shiurin lavud is the same as a mechitza. That it only works when you have a mechitza. Definitely an interesting din. Why would that be true? There's obviously a lot to talk about, but that's what the Gemara says. That lavud only works min hatzad. Avu bem. So let's say it's in the middle of your sukkah. Pligi ba Rav Acha v'Ravina. Chad amar yesh lavud b'emsa. Chad amar ein lavud b'emsa. One says it does, and one said it doesn't. What's the problem? There's no love in the middle of your sukkah. So what does that mean? That means even if it's not 3 tfachim, it's still possible. So what's the problem? So what if it's, I don't know, one little bit of airspace? At what point? Again, we're starting with, and you have a 3 tefach gap, you got to close up that gap. How do you do that? Love. Says the Gemara, when it's on the side, it closes it up. When it's in the middle, it's a machlokes. According to the Gemara, the Man Dharma, that in the middle you have 3 tefachim, beautiful. What about according to the Man Dharma that says in the middle, you don't have 3 tefachim? Okay, great, good. So what do you have? How much? If you put bamboo slats, it's possible. So Taisus over here allegedly says that in the top Taisvis, Taisa says, if I can find the line, I'd love to read it together with everyone. Yeah, that's the kasha. I'm looking for the teretz. Vaha, about 8 lines to the end of Taisis. Vaha dein tzchach puzzle paisel bachas me'arba. Afagav dein lover b'emsa. Lo daim lavir. Daman v'shachos v'shadar yosef v'teres lover v'luach in basel l'fisha inu. No. Where does he say it? I thought he says 1 tefach.
We touched up on this already, no?
Yeah, we did, but this is where it is. We kept on alluding to these Gemaras. I don't know. I thought Taisa says it. Okay, I have to look at it. But the point is, you have 1 tefach l'chayra to be kosher. We're going to see the next Gemara that. So let's just recap outside what happened today. We're going to pick up from here tomorrow. Firstly, we started today with a massive chiddush that when the Brisa says that Ramir is maida, that if you fill in between your slats with kosher schach, it's kosher. How does that work? In a funny case, precisely 8 amay sukkah, and then it works out beautiful. Puzzle, kosher, kosher. Well, whatever, I messed it up. But the point is you have 2 koshers in the middle, 4 tvachim next door to each other, kosher schach in the middle, making your sukkah. That was din 1 of the day. Din 2 of the day was avir. When you have airspace, when does airspace pass? So we learned 3 tvachim. We learned 2 dinim about airspace today. Din number 1 is if you want to minimize the airspace, how do you do it? Says the Gemara, depends if you have a big sukkah and a small sukkah. If you have a big sukkah, so the whole problem is the airspace, but the sukkah by itself is kosher. Fill it in whatever you want. I don't really care. Could you sit onto that? Good question. Aforementioned machlekes, probably, depending where it is. But if it's a small sukkah, says the Gemara, you got to fill it in with kosher schach. And din number 2, which is where we're going to pick up tomorrow, is that when you have your airspace, says the Gemara, it's a machlekes if it has to only be kosher on this side, there's only love it on the walls, or even in the middle. Pick it up from here. B'siyata dishmayesh.